Carolina Insider is presented by Wells Fargo, official sponsor of Carolina Athletics.
We're back. Time for another edition of the Carolina Insider. As you can see, we're going three deep here to start the show. My name's Jones Angell. That's Adam Lucas. He, of course, is the athletic director here at the University of North Carolina, Bubba Cunningham. We're going to chat with Bubba a little bit here at the start of the show. Then we're going to start talking about everything going on around Carolina, including Carolina baseball, which is where our second guest is going to come from today, Austin Love. 2-0 on the season as Carolina's Friday night starter. We'll talk to Austin, plus go through our social drive as well. So a busy show. Thanks for being here. Bubba, let's get started, and so much is going on. Let's start with fans returning. So great news last week that Carolina was able, thanks to the easing of restrictions from Governor Roy Cooper, that with the state of North Carolina, UNC was able to start allowing a few more fans in. How did it go, and what were those couple of days like when you guys were trying to get that figured out?
It was very hectic, but boy, it was a lot of fun. It was one of the most exciting couple of days we've had in a year, and to get some people back. I have to admit, so 5 o'clock Friday, we could get fans in. We had a home lacrosse game, women's lacrosse at 6 o'clock. And we've been busy as can be, trying to get everything ready so that we could be ready on Saturday as well for the men's basketball game. And I was watching that game on this incredible broadcast that this squad right here did for women's lacrosse, and it was raining cats and dogs. And I know we had fans, but I thought that might be a day for me to really check out the broadcast. So I stayed in my office throughout the game and watched that broadcast. Poor Jenny was completely soaked. But it was so cool to have people back. And I think that really made the difference in the game on Saturday. Yeah. And so kudos to the various staffs, the ticket office staff, the operations staff. We pushed them really hard because it would have been easier to wait a couple of days and then maybe do that for this weekend. But we really want to reawaken the campus, get people back. We thought we could do it safely, and they executed a plan just perfectly. And we had people back in all of our venues. So we had them back in the Smith Center, we had them back at Dorrance Field, we had them at the baseball at Bosch, and Bosch came away with a couple of great wins over the weekend. So I was just absolutely on cloud nine, walking across campus, hearing the national anthem when lacrosse was about to start on Saturday, seeing people come down the hill and then into the Smith Center. It was a great weekend for our teams and for the fans, and particularly for the students, because about 80% of the people in those venues were students.
Is that a work in progress, getting fans back into venues, or do you feel like we've come up with this plan, this is what we're doing, we're going with this until the end of the school year? How is that going to work?
It's a work in progress. I mean, it's been a little bit of a challenge because you have a 30% occupancy outside, 15% inside, but you have a 6-foot barrier or distance you're trying to maintain, and that will really drive the attendance more so than the 20 or 30 or 15%, because the 6 feet is what we're really worried about. And we'll continue to modify it. Obviously, the students are the priority. The next would be we want to make sure that the parents and families of the players get in. We have to take care of some for the visiting team, but we want to get our fans back. And so, we did some lotteries for different tickets. We had some people at baseball, but we're so spread out, it's not the normal experience, because if you're used to sitting behind home plate and you need 6 feet next to you, the guy sitting next to you is not going to be 6 feet. He might be 12 or maybe down the side. So we've got some work to do.
Bubba, so much is happening on campus athletically right now, and I want to talk about spring sports in just a second, but your winter sports are finishing up right now. You had both men and women taking home the ITA Indoor National Championships in tennis. There were individual ACC titles in track and field and diving and wrestling and fencing. Of course, both basketballs heading towards their postseason play now. A really fun way and successful way to close up the winter here in the next few weeks.
It was great. We had a coaches call this morning. We had all of our coaches on, and we started to go through some of the great achievements over the weekend. And all the ones that you mentioned, fencing was on, swimming were on, track, wrestling, and I had forgotten Sam Paul. We won a national championship between our last coaches meeting and now, I forgot. And so, that's the kind of stuff that is so cool about North Carolina. You win, people expect you to win, and our coaches and students have done a remarkable job. And for all of those teams to be playing throughout this entire pandemic, it's really been something that's been uplifting to them. And I think that's why we're pushing so hard to get people back. because people are looking for something positive. And the sports have certainly provided that. Now we have to do it safely, and we think we've done that. We haven't seen transmission through the spectators. We haven't seen it through participation. So that's what we're really going to continue to modify our plan so that we do stay safe.
As Jones mentioned, also having a ton of success in those spring sports that are just now getting started. 4 top-ranked teams in the country we've talked on here before. You can't walk across campus without seeing somebody who's the best in the nation at something. Well, what's it like to just kind of look at the weekend calendar and go, well, there's number one, there's number one. How am I going to see all these teams?
I agree. That's why I look out the window, because I'd be the only one that's not ranked number one going across campus. But it is really, I mean, that's what the kids play for. And we said it in the very beginning. When football came back to play and our teams in the fall started to play, it was to try to recreate and create these experiences for students. The experience that students have on a campus is part of that sense of community. Going to watch games for the students that don't play, going to participate if you do play. These experiences are really important this time for the country and for the people at this university. So as long as we do it safely, it's wonderful to see all of their practice and preparation starting to pay off. And this spring will be terrific. We're hosting a number of ACC championships. We're hosting a number of conference national championships, and I can't wait for the kids to get out and compete.
Bubba, I want to talk to you about the Carolina Values Project in just a second before we let you go. But also, you mentioned the win over Florida State on Saturday. That was win number 900 for Coach Williams. Becomes just the 4th Division I men's basketball coach to do that, and faster in terms of seasons or games of anyone in the history of the sport. I know he doesn't like to talk about it, but another incredible individual milestone.
Absolutely, and you're right, he doesn't. And if you noticed, I didn't pay every second of my time watching it, but as soon as they handed him the jersey, he gave it back to him and had the players hold it up. Right. He always talks about he hasn't been to any himself. The players have taken him to Final Fours, and he's taken his coach. And I think that was really indicative of what he was trying to demonstrate to them. And he talks about it all the time to the team, and I think they understand it. But at some point in his life, he'll start to reflect on it and realize what an achievement it is. 900 wins, incredible. Being hired as the Kansas coach with no head coaching experience, compiling all those wins, then coming back to his alma mater and doing even more so here has been phenomenal. 3 national championships. I mean, he sets the standard for us as a department of supporting each other, being humble and with humility in how you serve this university. He's been a wonderful person to work with.
All right, Bub, before we let you go, we want to talk about this Values Project that was launched this week. Tell us a little bit about it, what it means, and what you're hoping to do with it.
Well, Carolina Values really is, we've been talking about this for quite some time. Yeah. As soon as the name, image, and likeness started to get discussed at the national level, I realized that this could be a significant change to how we do business in college athletics. So I wanted to get the input of our student athletes. So I started asking the student athletes what they thought about it. And we had some surveys that we took, asked our student athletes, the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, the coaches, to give us their opinion about whether or not you should be able to monetize your name, image, and likeness. And that led to thinking about how are we going to make some decisions as we move forward. That led to the Carolina Values. And we came up with the 4 values, which are education, provide a great education while you're here. Opportunities, maximize the opportunities to play and get an education. We need to create more choices for students. So if they want to go pro, go pro. But if you want to major in something or do an internship, how do we figure out how do we do that? And then the commercial activity obviously drives what you can do. Mm-hmm. You can have great dreams and ambition, but if you don't have any money, you can't do it. So we need to figure out where does the commercial activity fit into higher education and into sport. So those are the values. I took those values to Washington, D.C. and met with a number of senators and congressmen and talked about these are the values for Carolina. As the national landscape unfolds, we're going to make decisions based on these 4 values. Well, I didn't realize we'd have a pandemic. I didn't realize we'd have the social unrest, the political unrest. And with the pandemic, we now have significantly less money for our commercial activity than we anticipated. And so all of those things are all coming together at the same time. So I thought it was helpful to engage the university community in a conversation about college athletics and what our values are. So whether it was Daryl Johnson, the head of our faculty athletics committee, or Malika Underwood, who has been with Brander and a couple other companies that does licensing for retired athletes, or any of our current student athletes, whether it's Brianna Pinto or a former student athlete in Dwight Hollier, talking about what are the pros and cons of name, image, and likeness, what are the benefits of college athletics. So That's really what we're intending to do. Engage the conversation, what it means to Carolina. Can we influence the national dialogue? Because we firmly believe that what we do is provide this incredible training ground and personal development for students. And then they go off into their profession and make money playing the sport or in whatever profession they choose. But we really believe that the training and the education you receive while a college student is where we should stay focused, not on the money you can generate while you're there. That comes after your training. And so that's really what we're hoping to do. We hope we can continue the conversation. I hope people offer their opinion, because it's important that we understand how does the Carolina community feel about these values and how should we go about making these decisions.
We talk all the time about people speaking for student athletes without ever actually speaking to the student athletes. You mentioned that you started off by surveying student athletes and seeing what they thought. What's something you learned from them that is important to them that maybe you might not have thought about it quite that way unless you had actually talked to them?
Well, it's a great group of kids, and they're really smart. That's the one thing, you talk about being number one in their sport. They're also number one in the classroom, and so I learned an awful lot from them. And they want to continue what they have here. They recognize it's a great opportunity. They recognize there is some kind of an economic imbalance in some of the things that we do. They are for some kind of revenue share or participation because they realize that two sports are funding everything else that we do. Mm-hmm. One of the great quotes I heard from one of our student athletes is, "We don't get as much as some of the other teams, but we get more than we deserve." And what a mature answer for a student athlete that's participating at the highest level. And so they were wrestling with it. So if you did autographs, if you're allowed to sign autographs for a fee, should there be a set fee? We asked our students what they thought. Should you share that fee with others across the team? We got their input on those kinds of questions. So they're pretty insightful, and they're trying to strike the balance as well. So they want to make sure that those that generate the money get taken care of, but they also want to maintain the opportunities for those that don't have the opportunity or don't have the revenue associated with their sport. So it's been good, but I'm really glad we included the students right from the very beginning.
Landscape of college athletics certainly moving, changing all the time, and boy, aren't we glad we have a terrific leader like Bubba Cunningham to help UNC navigate these waters. Bubba, great to see you as always. Always appreciate you coming and joining us. Always insightful stuff, and hope we can do it again soon.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for all you guys do. It's always good to see you.
All right, we're going to bring the desk in here. Adam and I are going to get at our formal desk and continue the show after this here on the Carolina Insider.
That's another way to say you're kicking me out.
Get out of here. Here we go. If you'd like to learn more about that Carolina Values project that Bubba was just discussing, it is goheels.com/Carolina Values. And again, we really do appreciate Bubba joining us here on the show, but we need to get down to business. Man, we have a lot to talk about here, and the show is brought to you by Wells Fargo. When our communities need us, Wells Fargo is here to help. Adam, let's start with Carolina basketball. And much like the season has been for Carolina, this has been an up and down week for the team. Had the terrific win over Florida State. Talked about that some with Bubba. Of course, coach's 900th win, but then couldn't follow it up with a successful performance. Fell by 2 on the road to Syracuse a couple days later.
Auntie M, put the cows in the barn. There's been a twister. Some furniture's appeared. Coach Williams mentioned it after the game. I really felt like the fans made a difference in that win over Florida State in a way that you don't see even in a normal year when there are fans in stadiums. So a great afternoon and evening for Tar Heel fans and for Tar Heel basketball. But then 48 hours later, rough performance at Syracuse. Just too many turnovers, not shooting the ball very well. And now Carolina finds themselves headed towards a big game against Duke on Saturday night. A big game for both sides, James.
Couple of different things. As we've talked about, that win on Saturday was number 900 for Coach Williams. He becomes the fastest Division I men's coach to reach 900 wins in both terms of games, which was 1,161, and in terms of seasons, which were 33. So big congratulations to Coach. Only Bob Knight, Jim Boeheim, and Mike Krzyzewski have more wins in their careers than Coach Williams does. Also, Adam, a big part of that win over Florida State was Walker Kessler, and he was named ACC Freshman of the Week. He followed up the 10-point performance against Marquette in the middle of the week with 20 points, 8 rebounds, 4 blocks. He becomes the 5th different Tar Heel to be named ACC Freshman of the Week. First time in the history of the conference, Adam, that one team has had 5 different players named Freshman of the Week at some point.
Testament to Carolina's depth in the freshman class, and really a testament to how hard Walker Kessler's worked. Really recommend his audio pod interview.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great insight into what his freshman year has been like, the work he's put in, and still the growth he still has to go.
Let's go from freshmen to seniors because, Adam, Carolina's game against Duke on Saturday is indeed Senior Day. 4 seniors will be honored for the Tar Heels: Walker Miller and KJ Smith, both non-scholarship seniors, and then Andrew Platek and Garrison Brooks as well. And it feels this way every year, but it feels like Garrison Brooks just got here. But now he and the rest of his classmates about to have certainly an unusual Senior Day in the Smith Center.
It's definitely going to be different because there's those parts of Senior Day that you just are used to every single year being the exact same. Some of those will be different this year, but one thing's the absolute same. You know, Roy Williams will be hyper-focused on sending his seniors out with one more win, and you know there's no better way to go out for all those seniors than a big win over Duke, which no matter who's in the building, that would be something they would remember forever.
Speaking of time flying, Adam, somehow it has been 15 years since Tyler Hansbrough and the rest of his freshman class went into Cameron Indoor Stadium and defeated Duke on senior night for J.J. Redick and Sheldon Williams. That was back in 2006. And Adam, it's a game that I think Carolina fans remember a bunch. We know it's a game that the players on that team still think about and was very special to them. And because of that, the audio podcast for this week that is coming out on Friday, we are doing a full retrospective of that win over Duke in 2006. Adam and I have rewatched the game and we talk about it, but more importantly than that, we have interviews with Tyler Hansbrough, Danny Green, David Noel, Bobby Fraser, Marcus Ginyard, Rayshon Terry, and Quentin Thomas. It's really more of an oral history of that game told through those guys.
And so fun to catch up with them. They're all new interviews. It's not stuff you've heard before. And just great to hear the way they thought about it then in 2006, but also the way they think about it now in 2021, because it became clear still an impactful game for them. And always fun to watch a game like that with the knowledge that the Heels win.
That's right.
So you can relax a little more than you did when you watched it the first time. Fun time and looking forward. I think people are really going to like that on Friday.
Again, that's coming out on Friday, the Carolina Insider audio podcast coming out Friday, that 2006 retrospective. All right, Adam, let's go from men's basketball to women's basketball. And what a strong end to the regular season for Courtney Banghart and her team. Picked up a dominating victory over Georgia Tech at home on that program's Senior Day, on Carolina's Senior Day, and then went on the road and picked up a victory against Virginia Tech. Both those Techs are going to be tournament teams. And Adam, I think the Tar Heels are going to be a tournament team. They were right there on the bubble, but the way that they've closed this year looks like that they're going to be heading to the NCAA tournament.
We talked about on the men's side, the freshman class maturing and playing better as the season progressed. I think that's happened on the women's side too, as some of those younger players have grown into their roles. They understand college basketball a little better, starting to be more productive, including Jones winning some ACC awards.
Yeah, Deja Kelly named the ACC Freshman of the Week, and she has been playing really well and on the all-freshman team as well for the ACC. She's averaging better than 19 points over the last 4 games. Really highly recruited player that's had a solid season all year, but has really come into her own here in the last few games. Add in some of that youth with some of the veteran presence on the team, like Janelle Bailey, who was named All-ACC honorable mention. She is Carolina's all-time leading scorer and rebounder. And Adam, Courtney Banghart, who, by the way, if you're watching us as we're streaming at 1 o'clock on Thursday, not watching an on-demand version, the Tar Heels, the number 8 seed in the ACC tournament. They're playing against Wake Forest right now in an 8-9 game. But Adam, a team that maybe not a finished product yet for what Courtney Banghart's trying to build in Chapel Hill, but you can see the steps are being taken.
And another great class coming in next year. So the future is bright. And also, not only are they doing it with basketball, doing it with books too. Deja Kelly and Alyssa Usby also made All-ACC academic this week.
Winter sports are wrapping up in Chapel Hill. That's more than just basketball, of course, and there's been some team and individual honors from the ACC postseason. Let's start with wrestling. The team finished in third in the ACC finale. Austin O'Connor wins the ACC title at the weight of 149. He is ranked number 1 in the nation. Just a terrific performer for Carolina. Indoor track and field. Team finished second in the ACC tournament. Daniel MacArthur and Brandon Tubby were in the 4x400 relay team, all win gold. 6 Tar Heels headed to the NCAA Indoor Championships. You see there a couple of individuals that were singled out. And also, Adam, take a look there on the right portion of the screen. 2 Tar Heels, Brandon Tubby and Thomas Ratcliffe, run a sub 4-minute mile. Look here on the pod, we know Dylan Sorensen has been setting that standard here for a while.
Now, they did that with basketballs.
I don't think
or
they
without?
were dribbling basketballs. Though.
Okay, so the record's a little tainted, but congratulations to those guys. Anyway, let's see you add in the ball next time.
Swimming and diving also went through its ACC championships this past weekend as well. Aranza Vasquez won 2 golds and a silver in diving. Anton Down Jenkins won 2 golds. They were named women's and men's most valuable divers of the championship, respectively. Congratulations to both of those Tar Heel student athletes. And fencing finished second in the ACC championships as well. Reza Merchant wins the men's épée and is named the men's ACC most valuable fencer. Did you get all that?
This is not normal. It's not normal to win this many things. I think we kind of get immune to it because you're used to it because you're a Tar Heel fan. They don't have success like this in other athletic departments, and it's fun to see how many teams and individuals are having success right now.
Épée, saber, and
Foil.
I knew Adam would be able to get that. All right, also don't forget spring sports, and we've talked a bunch about them. We talked some about it with Bubba, but 4 number 1 ranked teams in the spring all won this past week as well. Field hockey is going to start its spring season, talking about number 1 ranked teams. That starts tomorrow against Louisville, and baseball off to a terrific start as well. Adam, they are 6-1, start a weekend series with Virginia Tech. We're going to talk to Austin Love in just a second, but as far as at the plate and in the field, Justice Thompson, holy cow, a transfer into Carolina. He had, you see here, it's called best ACC debut in history. That's a big sentence to say, but holy cow, in his first game against Virginia this past weekend, look at that, an RBI single that he turned into a double, had a couple of great catches that we're going to show, a bunt single, had a steal, had a home run, had a terrific catch in center field. In the second game, he stole home for the game-winning run. I mean, what a weekend for Justice Thompson.
Set up the team meal after the game, drove the bus to Bosmer Stadium, and then he called it a weekend. Tar Heels take 2 out of 3 from the Cavs. That's a big Coastal Division series. You don't think about it because it happened in February. By the time we get to May and we're figuring out ACC standings, that'll be a big series win.
All right, Austin Love, talking about Justice Thompson doing it in the field and at the plate. Austin Love has been getting it done on the mound for the Tar Heels as their number 1 weekend starter. Adam and I had a chance to catch up with Austin here on the Carolina Insider.
There might not be any hotter than the Diamond Heels. Off to a great start, and one of the big reasons why is Austin Love, who's 2-0 on the mound for the Tar Heels, the Friday night starter. Austin, thanks so much for giving us some time today.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
What is working with the Diamond Heels right now? Why are the Tar Heels playing so well?
I mean, we pride ourselves on pitching and defense, and right now it's definitely been what's gotten us through the first 7 games that we've played. I mean, our pitching, just all of our starters, we get to the 5th or 6th inning. It really helps our bullpen, so we don't have to use all of our guys. I mean, they're fully rested whenever they come out of the bullpen, so I feel like that's been a major thing.
Austin, this has been such a unique season, of course, in total, starting from all the way back in the fall due to COVID and everything that everybody's trying to navigate. How has it affected you guys? How are you having to do things differently as a team, and how have you guys responded to that?
Yeah, definitely in the fall it was a lot different coming back. I mean, normally we come back, we can all be in the same locker room all at one time, but for the first couple months in the fall, it was all just, there'd be like 5 or 6 people like the freshmen, I barely even knew their names if they were hitters because I hadn't got to be around any of them. So that took some getting used to. And then after that, it started opening up a little bit. I mean, we just had to wear a mask. We had to take all the precautions, hand sanitizer and all that stuff. But, I mean, we eventually got back together, and our team's definitely gotten close.
You've been so good out of the bullpen the last couple seasons. What went into the decision to make the transition to starter, and what did you do to enable yourself to get ready to go through the opposing lineup 2 or 3 times?
Yeah, I mean, I was obviously out of the bullpen, so I mean that was my role. That's what I was expecting probably to get put back in there this year, but I came back and they wanted me to start. So I mean, I'd been there. I did that in high school, and then over the summers I'd been a starter. So I mean, I knew that instead of like coming out of the bullpen, you got to probably strike guys out because there's people on base. Being the starter, it's more you're just trying to get deeper into the game. So I'm just trying to get out as fast as possible so we can get back in the dugout.
Austin, of course, major change with Carolina baseball this year with Scott Forbes taking over in his first year as the head coach. He was under Coach Fox as an assistant for so long. Have there been any big changes within the program with Coach Forbes taking over? Have things stayed relatively the same?
Yeah, I would say that they've basically been about the same. Like you said, Coach Forbes was behind Coach Fox for all those years. Practices and everything are basically still scheduled the same way. Yeah, not that much has changed.
What is Scott like as a head coach?
I mean, I don't think he's changed that much other than he gets to make all the practice plans now. But other than that, I mean, he still acts the same. He's still all about us and the team.
Carolina, Virginia in baseball, always a big one. And this year, that was your ACC opening series. What impressed you about the way your team was able to play last weekend and taking 2 out of 3 from the Cavaliers?
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously a really good team. They were ranked, 12th in some polls, and then as high as number 2 in other polls. So, I mean, we knew it was definitely going to be hard, but I think coming out in that first game, we scored in the first inning off their Friday guy who was supposed to be a pretty high draft pick. So I think that got us going, and then just our pitching and defense, we didn't make any errors, which is really hard to do. So I think all those combined is what really helped us.
Austin, when did you realize you could throw the baseball so hard?
I guess when I was younger, growing up, I mean, I could throw pretty hard, and then my freshman year, I wasn't throwing this hard, so I just started lifting weights a lot more and working on being more explosive. So that's what got me to where I am now.
There's been a whole explosion in baseball analytics, especially on the pitching side. How do you balance all the science and wanting to know all the details with, at some point, you actually have to go out there and just pitch?
Yeah, I'm definitely the guy who doesn't pay too much attention to all the science stuff. I'm more just go out there and throw it, and if I can get it to move like I want, that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to pay that much attention to all the analytics. I'm just more of a go out there and throw it.
Who's the biggest science-y guy? Who wants to talk about rotation and revolutions per second or whatever, and you're like, dude, I just go out there and strike people out?
I mean, Michael O is probably our biggest guy who knew all the stuff coming in from his JUCO. So when he first got here, he was trying to tell me all the stuff, and I had no clue what he was talking about.
Austin, this is such a young Carolina team. I think in the starting lineup, I think it's 6 freshmen a lot of times, and a handful of sophomores, and just such a young group. What kind of energy does that bring when you do have such a youthful team?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely our starters are all pretty young, but I think people don't realize with the COVID and stuff, we got a lot of older guys back that have been here for a while, like Dallas, me, some guys from that class, Jake Holtzapfel. I mean, they've all been here for 3 or 4 years. So, I mean, being here for that long, I think we're able to, keep the younger guys calm, but at the same time, I mean, they're all amped up because they hadn't been here and done it before. So I think it's been a really good mix.
we're so old that we still think of Bryant Gaines as a pitcher. So I have two questions about him. Number one, does anybody still call him Big Donk?
Yes, Coach Forbes calls him that all the time.
Nice. All right. And then number two, what's he like as a pitching coach?
Oh, he's the man. I mean, we love him. He's really laid back and relaxed, but I mean, he definitely knows his stuff. He's gotten into the analytics side, and that's definitely helped a lot of our pitchers who look into that and use it more than I do.
It's been a terrific start to the year for Carolina. Tar Heels 6-1, heading to Virginia Tech this weekend for another big ACC series, and a big reason why the Heels have started so well. The gentleman we just talked to, Austin Love. Austin, man, thanks so much for your time. Congratulations on the terrific start. Can't wait to watch you out on the mound and on the field the rest of the season.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
Thanks to Austin Love. Thanks to Bubba earlier in the show. Our guest always brought to you by Coca-Cola, which tastes better together and is a proud sponsor of Carolina Athletics. Let's get right into our social drive, and Adam's going to drive us in, and Aaron Sabato is going to be driving some baseballs out. Of course, former podcast, former Diamond Heels member, now in the Minnesota Twins organization. And Adam, explain this to us. Now, there's a new Twitter account about Carolina baseball analytics. Put on your nerd glasses, Adam, and tell us all about it.
I wear those all the time, so this is no trouble. Carolina Baseball Analytics, the student group, got a lot of attention during the Robert Woodard era. Woodard was very into that. They now have a Twitter account. They've continued to do great work over there at Boshemer at UNC Analytics. And so they were following up this discussion that was going on out in baseball Twitter, which you definitely have to wear your nerd glasses to participate in that. And it was a discussion about major leaguers who had hit home runs with an exit velocity of at least 114 miles an hour, which is a high water mark that maybe you could count them on one hand. Major leaguers have hit a home run at that exit velocity. Well, here's Aaron Sabato, who hit one in college. Now we know he's not using a wood bat, but these bats are basically the same as wood bats, who's coming very, very close to 114 miles an hour. And fun note on Aaron Sabato, Jones, I'm sure as you've been following spring training, he was in a game this week that also included Brian Moran. So two Tar Heels from over a decade apart playing in the same Twins organization right now.
Adam, can you feel it? It's almost draft combine time for the NFL, and the Tar Heels are going to be well represented at the NFL draft combine this year. 5 Tar Heels are going to the NFL draft combine. Got the invite you see there: De'Ami Brown, Michael Carter, Daz Newsome, Chaz Surratt, Javonte Williams. Excited to see all those guys. All those guys are going to get drafted. Can't wait to see that happen for them. Live out a lifelong dream, I'm sure, for all those guys to hear their name called and hopefully have a terrific NFL career, and big step there to get checked out at the Combine.
A lot of former pod guests on there.
Yeah,
I'd like to catch up with them and ask them how that arrives. Does someone jump out of a cake? How does your Combine invite arrive? I hope it's not just something simple like an email. I hope you get something really cool.
2 Tar Heels, one former Tar Heel, one current Tar Heel, both really good Tar Heel quarterbacks. Adam, somehow Marquise Williams and Sam Howell, actually we know how, Marquise knows Sam, they're both from the Charlotte area, and you see here they hooked up on a Madden game, so a little bit of competition there between 2 great Tar Heel QBs.
Well now, Jones, you're going to have to explain this to us because you're big on Twitch.
Yeah, I am big on Twitch.
So you understand what this is, but they went head-to-head and basically streamed it so everyone could watch.
Yeah, could watch it.
And we understand that Marquise won, but there was a bit of controversy at the end. Sam Howell, as you would expect, not losing lightly.
Yeah, I'm going to guess that Sam Howell didn't take that with a smile on his face, that if he came up a little bit short. So go check it out on Twitch. I think Marquise Williams is pretty active out there on Twitch, so you can watch him play video games all day if you'd like. So great to hear from those 2 guys. And as said, Marquise knows Sam from his high school days, both of them from the Charlotte area. Let's go from football to basketball, and Adam, Tar Heels getting it done on and off the court. We'll start with one of our favorites in Kobe White. Kobe not just having a terrific second season with the Chicago Bulls, but thought this was really cool as he started an initiative here with what he's wearing. You know how it's always a big deal what you wear walking into the arena, so Kobe wanted to go maybe a step past just looking really good. He wanted to make a statement with what he was wearing.
I always post those shots of me walking into the arena with that day's fit. There was a really good article on ESPN.com, but I thought just showed how unique Kobe White is. He said he wanted to use his platform more. He wasn't necessarily comfortable making speeches or going in front of big crowds unless he's shooting a basketball, but he would like to do something. And so he was talking with, I believe, his sister, and she said, well, what if you just wear something that raises awareness? And he said, well, what about my hoodies? And so now he's wearing a different hoodie each game, and you see a selection of them there. So keep an eye on his walking into the arena photos, because they're actually intended not just to show you what he's wearing, but also maybe educate you a little bit.
Circle of life moment here, Adam, as George Karl tweeting about Ty Lawson, both former great Tar Heel guards, of course, both of them in the Denver organization. George Karl was the coach for a while when Ty Lawson was there, and Coach Karl just talking about how much he enjoyed coaching Ty. We'll watch this move here from Ty, this play against the Lakers, and you know, it's frustrating, I'm sure, for Ty that he didn't have a longer NBA career, but certainly a terrific player both at Carolina and in the pros.
I feel like we've definitely reached the point where Ty Lawson is better than what you remember he was, because I think he's just sort of slipped in our memories. But as you saw right there, and as you probably remember from his Carolina career, when Ty Lawson was being Ty Lawson, you weren't going to stop.
3 years in at Chapel Hill, went to an Elite Eight, a Final Four, won a national title, ACC Player of the Year his junior season. One of the best ever at that position for Carolina, at a position where there have been some really good ones in at Chapel Hill. Adam, we go to one of our favorite things to talk about, and that is aggressive referee points when someone gets called for a foul. Adam and I, we mentioned the 06 game, yeah, just like that, the 06 game rewatch. We've gone back on the audio podcast and watched some older games than that, and what we have noticed, Adam, is that particularly in the 80s, the referees were super aggressive when they were calling someone for a foul. No better example than this. It was brought to our attention by our good friend Cameron, who sent us this tweet. And let's watch this video, Adam. This is from the 82 season, Carolina Duke, and my goodness, James Worthy with a strong finish.
Unfortunately, Duke got trapped by Michael Jordan and James Worthy, which led to a turnover and this.
Look at that.
You, Jay Bryan, number 33 on 1982 Duke. I like how it takes two teammates to help him up and recover from what just occurred to him.
Okay, watch. First, the referee gets airborne. Look, he got airborne right there. The basket's good, and by the way, you're the man who called. Like, who else would it be? Who else would the foul be on? Other than the man lying prone on the baseline that the official is pointing. I'm sure Jay Bryan appreciated that.
Couple of current ACC officials watched that clip and thought,
Is that how I can get the cameras on me even more?
we could bring that back. Aggressive pointing.
That one's going to get us in trouble. Thank you, Adam. We're going to get a call from Brian Kersey now. All right, let's go to a little bit more around basketball. We start with this. Adam, I don't even know where this one came from, but what a cool photo we found here. Dean Smith, of course, legendary head coach here in Chapel Hill, but he played, you may know this, played at Kansas, and it was Adam's friend Fran Fraschilla who sent this out, a picture of the 1952 Kansas team, and hey, look who's on there, Dean Smith.
I just don't know if we're going to make it through this segment in one piece, but Kansas was wearing some throwback uniforms, and so that got them to bring out this shot, and always really cool to see Coach Smith.
Coach Smith there on the bottom, on the one sitting on the floor directly to your right as you look at the picture of the gentleman sitting in the center. That's Coach Smith there on the bottom level. So pretty cool to see Coach Smith in that photo. Also, a little more recent Tar Heel history. Kenny Williams is in the G League playing with the Austin Spurs and had a great night here recently. Good to see Kenny having success. Certainly saw that during his time in Chapel Hill. Look at that, 20 points, 6 of 10 from 3. Hope Kenny continues to have some success in the G League and is able to take that next step up to the pros. And finally, Adam, Wes Miller. Of course, Wes, former Tar Heel guard, he was on that 06 team that we were talking about earlier. And Wes, now the head coach of UNC Greensboro, has done a terrific job there. And that includes winning the regular season championship there in the Southern Conference. Great to see him having success.
Second time in 4 years that the Spartans have taken the regular season championship. That conference tournament will be this weekend. And Jones, it's taking place in Asheville, which, as you know, is basically like Maui. So that tournament will be Saturday, Sunday, and then if UNCG makes it to the title game, you can watch them on Monday night.
All right, 2 more quick things before we go. We know it's been a long show. Appreciate you being here. We've talked about on the audio podcast recently odd high school mascots. Adam brought up the Imps, and Adam, we found some pictures of the Imps. Look at that.
Well,
that would intimidate me.
See, this is just going to raise my hackles because this is my crosstown rival, and the Cougars don't like the Imps. But this is a very unique mascot, and I didn't know the history that it had some connections to Carolina and Duke. But yeah, the Imps they're a crafty bunch.
And by the way, we're going to have more this is a teaser. We're going to have more discussion about high school mascots on the audio pod coming soon. We've gotten some breaking news on a couple of interesting mascots in the state. And finally, Adam, we talk about Argyle wall design a lot here on the show, naturally. And so Mark Franklin sent this photo in. He was the man who started this whole discussion a couple weeks ago of Tar Heel fans and how to do it and have other people tried it. And so Mark finally decided he and his wife did an accent wall in one of their rooms. And I have to say, a very classy design.
You were a big fan of the accent wall
I like it.
look. I do like how that was pulled off. It doesn't hit you over the head, but it's there. And
If you're sitting on that couch, you've got a nice little reminder right there.
Mark did say that was a good, solid, day-long project, but they got it done and it looks great.
This has been a day-long project here on the Carolina Insider. We appreciate you spending some of your day with us. Of course, a lot of stuff happening in the next couple weeks. ACC tournament, NCAA tournaments for basketballs. Spring sports really starting to get into their regular seasons. Winter sports wrapping up, so we have a lot to do. Can't wait to take you all the way through it here on the Carolina Insider.
See you later, Big Grit.